I want you to see what just unfolded across the Middle East, because the situation is developing rapidly and carries serious global implications. Serious. Tonight, we are tracking a series of escalating military actions involving the United States, Iran, and several key regional allies. Reports indicate heightened activity around American naval assets stationed in the Gulf, alongside urgent advisories issued to diplomatic personnel. The U.S. Embassy in Israel has communicated a strong warning to its staff, urging immediate departure while commercial travel options remain available. Concerned officials emphasized urgency, noting that flight availability could change quickly depending on the evolving security environment. At the same time, multiple sources confirm that missile activity has been reported across several countries in the region. U.S. military installations in Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates have all been placed on high alert following reports of incoming projectiles. Air defense systems have reportedly been activated across these areas, with interceptions occurring over major cities. Civil aviation authorities in multiple Gulf nations have temporarily restricted airspace, citing safety concerns as military systems remain engaged. Witness accounts describe loud explosions and visible aerial interceptions, contributing to widespread uncertainty among civilians. What do you think about how quickly this situation has escalated, and do you believe there were warning signs that could have been addressed earlier? Share your thoughts in the comments. According to preliminary information, at least one fatality has been reported in the region, linked to falling debris from an intercepted projectile. Authorities have not released full casualty figures, but investigations are ongoing. Meanwhile, verified video footage circulating online appears to show impacts near strategic facilities, though officials have urged caution in interpreting unconfirmed media. Governments across the region are advising residents to remain indoors and follow official guidance as defensive operations continue. Earlier in the day, reports emerged that the United States, in coordination with Israel, conducted what officials described as a preemptive military operation targeting sites within Iran. These strikes reportedly focused on multiple locations, including areas believed to be associated with military infrastructure. While official statements emphasize strategic objectives, independent analysts suggest that the scope of the operation may have been broader. There are also unverified claims that leadership-related sites may have been included, though this has not been confirmed by authorities. Defense officials have acknowledged that military assets had been repositioned in the region over recent weeks. This includes the deployment of multiple aircraft carrier strike groups, advanced fighter aircraft, and logistical support systems. Analysts note that such movements typically indicate preparation for a range of contingencies, though officials maintain that these deployments are defensive in nature. The presence of these forces has now become a focal point as tensions continue to rise. In a recent public statement, former President Donald Trump addressed the situation, suggesting that the ongoing military actions could lead to significant political changes within Iran. His remarks included strong language regarding potential outcomes, which has drawn mixed reactions from policymakers and international observers. Meanwhile, Iranian officials have issued warnings that any country supporting U.S. or Israeli operations could be considered a target, further increasing concerns about regional escalation. Energy markets are already reacting to the uncertainty. The Strait of Hormuz, a critical global shipping route, remains a key point of concern. Approximately 1/5 of the world's oil supply passes through this narrow passage. Analysts warn that any disruption could have immediate and far-reaching economic consequences. Oil prices have shown volatility, reflecting fears that supply chains could be impacted if tensions continue to rise. Diplomatic efforts appear to have been underway prior to these developments. Indirect negotiations between U.S. and Iranian representatives reportedly took place in Geneva, with mediation from Oman. Officials on both sides had previously described the talks as constructive, with discussions centered on nuclear policy and verification measures. However, the sudden shift from diplomacy to military action has raised questions about the stability and intent of those negotiations. Conflicting statements from officials have added to the uncertainty. Some reports suggest that Iran's nuclear capabilities are advancing rapidly, while others indicate that development remains limited. These differing assessments have led to confusion among the public and policymakers alike. Experts emphasize the importance of verified intelligence in shaping responses, but acknowledge that such information is often classified or subject to interpretation. Previous military operations also factor into the current situation. In mid-2025, a coordinated effort reportedly targeted Iranian nuclear facilities, with officials claiming significant damage to infrastructure. However, questions remain about the long-term effectiveness of those strikes. Analysts are now asking whether the current escalation reflects new developments or unresolved concerns from earlier operations. International reactions are beginning to take shape. China has issued evacuation advisories for its citizens in Iran and increased security recommendations for those in Israel. European airlines have adjusted flight routes or suspended services to affected areas. Aviation authorities, including those in the United States, are closely monitoring the situation to determine whether further restrictions are necessary. Statements from Iranian military organizations indicate that recent actions may represent only an initial phase. Officials have referred to the current operations as a first wave, suggesting the possibility of additional activity. Defense analysts warn that this language could signal a prolonged period of heightened tension, with both sides preparing for further developments. Reports from the ground indicate that some U.S. personnel had been relocated from key bases prior to the strikes, suggesting that military planners anticipated potential retaliation. Satellite imagery and intelligence assessments had previously identified increased activity at Iranian missile production sites. Experts note that such preparations are often visible well in advance, though responses may vary depending on strategic priorities. Regional governments are now facing difficult decisions. Countries that host U.S. military assets are expressing concern about being drawn into a broader conflict. Official statements from Qatar and the United Arab Emirates have condemned the recent strikes, emphasizing the importance of sovereignty and regional stability. These nations have historically maintained balanced relationships with multiple global powers, making their positions particularly significant. Military experts highlight the complexity of the current environment. Iran possesses a range of capabilities, including missile systems and regional partnerships that extend across several countries. These networks could play a role in shaping the trajectory of the conflict. At the same time, U.S. forces maintain advanced technology and global reach, creating a dynamic and unpredictable balance. The potential closure of the Strait of Hormuz remains a major concern. Analysts explain that even limited disruption could impact global energy supplies, leading to increased costs and economic strain. Strategic reserves may provide temporary relief, but long-term interruptions would require coordinated international responses. Governments are closely monitoring shipping activity and security conditions in the area. Historical context also informs current expectations. Iran has invested heavily in defensive infrastructure designed to withstand external attacks. Military facilities are often hardened or distributed across multiple locations, complicating targeting efforts. This approach reflects lessons learned from past conflicts and underscores the challenges of achieving decisive outcomes through limited operations. Political developments within Iran are also being closely watched. Exiled figures have issued statements calling for internal change, though their influence remains uncertain. Observers note that external pressure can have complex effects on domestic dynamics, sometimes strengthening existing leadership rather than weakening it. The long-term implications of these factors are difficult to predict. Economic impacts are already being felt beyond the region. Market volatility, rising fuel costs, and uncertainty in global trade are affecting businesses and consumers alike. Financial institutions are adjusting forecasts, while central banks are evaluating potential policy responses. Experts warn that prolonged instability could contribute to broader economic challenges. Military planners emphasize that large-scale operations require sustained effort and resources. A comprehensive campaign would involve multiple phases, including air operations, logistical support, and coordination with allies. Each stage carries its own risks and uncertainties. Analysts caution that expectations of quick resolution may not align with the realities of modern conflict. The question of long-term outcomes remains open. Even if immediate objectives are achieved, the process of stabilization presents significant challenges. Past experiences in the region have shown that rebuilding political and social structures can be complex and time-consuming. International cooperation is often essential, but not always guaranteed. Global powers are closely observing the situation. While direct involvement may be limited, diplomatic and economic support could influence the balance of power. Strategic partnerships and alliances are likely to play a key role in shaping future developments. Observers note that shifts in alignment could have lasting effects on international relations. In the coming hours, attention will focus on whether further military actions occur. The potential for additional strikes or responses remains high, and each development could influence the next. Analysts describe this as a critical window in which decisions made by leaders on all sides will have far-reaching consequences. The central question now is whether there is a path toward de-escalation. Diplomatic channels may still exist, but their effectiveness will depend on timing, communication, and mutual willingness to engage. Without clear strategies for reducing tensions, the risk of continued escalation remains a serious concern. As we continue to monitor this developing story, we will bring you the latest verified information and expert analysis. The situation remains fluid, and events are unfolding rapidly across multiple fronts. For now, the world is watching closely, aware that the decisions made in this moment could shape the global landscape for years to come. Please hit the bell icon and subscribe my channel for daily updates.